What is up, my fellow degenerates? We're watching a PragerU video today. No time for fancy introductions because one, I found that if I keep my videos under 20 minutes, I get more viewers, and two, I am supposed to be getting ready for a friend's birthday party right now. So let's do this, and boom.
What's up, Gators? This is Will Witt with PragerU. Today we're at the University of Florida, and we're asking people about ICE, and we also ran into a little climate change protest. Let's do it. What are your thoughts on ICE?
On ICE? Oh, it's... Honestly, I don't know that much information about it, but I know it's like... I feel like it's kind of unfair.
I think ICE, currently right now in this political administration, they're doing more harm than good.
Under the current, political climate, I don't really agree with a lot of their policies.
You hate ICE?
Yes.
Why do you hate ICE?
Because I think that that's ridiculous that you're gonna block out people that coming into the country that we are founded on immigrants. So how are you gonna
Take them out.
take them out?
Do you think there's a difference between legal immigrants and illegal immigrants?
For sure, but I don't think that it's right to build a wall.
Dumb non sequitur question. Is there a difference between legal immigrants and illegal immigrants? Well, yeah. One's legal and one's illegal. It's like a truthism. Like, you kind of have to agree with the framing of his question. But the difference between a legal and an illegal immigrant is a civil offense versus not committing a civil offense. Literally, it is more illegal in the United States to drink and drive than it is to cross the U.S. border illegally. Continue.
What do you guys think about ICE?
Well, it is a naturally occurring phenomenon on Earth, and it exists in the poles seasonally.
It's true. That's true. Put in your drink?
I like it.
Do you think illegal immigration is a big problem? Like, you talk about education and stuff, and illegal immigrants take advantage of these programs that the taxpayers pay for.
I don't think illegal immigrants take advantage of things like...
Alright, first significant bullshit thing said. So, the immigrants taking advantage of social services. I have an article pulled up just for this particular talking point right here. Let's take a look at this. This is from PolitiFacts. How much do undocumented immigrants pay in taxes? Very interesting article. So, scroll down a little bit right here. Donald Trump says stupid stuff about immigrants. Okay. According to the Social Security Administration, there were nearly 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States in January 2009. Factoring out kids, non-working immigrants, and those working in the underground economy and not paying taxes, the Social Security Administration estimated about 3.1 million unauthorized immigrants who worked and paid Social Security taxes in 2010. Well, isn't that interesting? 3.1 million undocumented workers are paying into the Social Security system in the U.S. So this article continues. In a 2014 Vice News piece, the Social Security Administration's chief actuary, Stephen C. Goss, affirmed the $12 billion contribution. So that's referring to an earlier thing in this article that states that undocumented immigrants are paying an estimated $12 billion into Social Security. I believe that's annually. And further down here, Social Security Administration analysts said a relatively small portion of those who could draw benefits do so. So Social Security Administration analysts said a relatively small portion of those who could draw benefits, referring to Social Security, do so. So this is referring to the fact that undocumented immigrants, in spite of the fact that through their labor here in the United States, they are paying as much as $12 billion into Social Security, they can't withdraw any of that in the form of benefits because obviously they're undocumented. They don't have a Social Security number. So they cannot benefit from this system that they are paying billions of dollars of taxes into. And again down, an analysis by the Conservative Heritage Foundation came up with a lower figure, $7 billion, excluding payments from employers. So yeah, that that's something I should have mentioned. This 12 billion number also includes payments from employers of these undocumented workers. So it groups them together in kind of a weird way. I guess it kind of figures that employers that hire undocumented workers, they are gaining a large revenue stream from these undocumented workers, and it's kind of like you know still kind of the same idea that those undocumented workers are still paying into the Social Security system, just with the added middleman of their employers. But even excluding that fact, according to the conservative Heritage Foundation, the Heritage Foundation is a conservative think tank group, says that the number is about $7 billion that undocumented immigrants are paying into the Social Security system. So all of this to say that this talking point of undocumented workers mooching off of the system and not paying taxes is so false. So wrong. Okay. God, I gotta get ready for that birthday party. I dwelled way too long on that one point. Continue.
Free healthcare, free education, by any means.
Do you think there's a difference though between legal and illegal immigration?
Dumb point. Again, still dumb.
I mean, it's like textbook definition. Yes, there is a difference between legal and illegal.
What are your thoughts on ICE?
I mean, they keep illegal immigration to a minimum, and that's good. Can be a little aggressive sometimes. Like some of the things that they do are inhumane, like separating them from their children. It's just not the right way to go about.
Couple dozen people dying in ICE custody is getting a little aggressive sometimes. Yes.
About things.
But I think that if you don't want to be separated from your children, you shouldn't try and cross the border illegally, right?
I agree. You should try to get here legally.
Yeah. What do you think about ICE?
Okay, so I don't like making feels arguments on these videos, which is why I often pull up things like, stuff from PolitiFact and things relating to studies and whatnot. But I want to make a feels argument real quick for that comment. It's like, oh, if you don't want to be separated from your children, then just don't come here illegally. The fact is that a lot of these people are fleeing violence from Central and South America, particularly countries like Honduras and El Salvador, where the U.S. drug war policies have absolutely decimated their countries. They are some of the most violent places to live in the world, and or at the very least to live in the Western Hemisphere. And a lot of these people are genuine refugees. They're not just undocumented people. They are legit refugees. And I would ask anyone who makes this argument to consider this. If you were put into a situation like these people are, like many of these people are, that are fleeing violence from their home countries, where their kids, where your kids are at risk of dying if you remain in these basically war-torn countries, what would you be willing to do to keep your kids alive and safe? Would you be willing to commit a misdemeanor offense, or rather a civil offense, if it meant keeping your kids alive and safe? I'm assuming a lot of parents would. So if you hear this, if you're a person who makes this argument, try and put yourself in the shoes of someone else for a change, and try and understand from their perspective that a lot of these people are genuinely trying to save their kids' lives by committing a civil offense, again, less legal than drinking and driving, by coming here into the United States illegally.
ICE.
The organization? They're just doing their job.
I like the organization a lot. I think it's really important to maintaining a free state that we enforce the laws of our country.
The guys are just like cops. They gotta do their job.
Cops
so they get a lot of hate because it's easy to hate on them.
In a way,
my
that
boys.
job in itself in every country is a necessary job.
Immigration is an issue because we can't support the entire world in our country. But
We can. We need to just have open borders and let everyone in, okay?
who's gonna pay for that?
In
You
general,
are.
many
We're going to
elements
take
of
it from your SCARF fund. Your annual SCARF fund will be pillaged to pay for the
the
open
left are
borders.
against the concept of like a nation state.
Go on a waiting list for a few years, maybe get denied, maybe get in. That's just lay of the land. It's how it's supposed to.
Again, like this. I know people get triggered by conservatives get triggered by the word privilege, but it's really applicable in this case. what this guy is saying, like, you just come in legally and you wait for a few years and you might get in, you might not get in, that's how it goes. This is an argument that's coming from such a position of privilege where obviously this guy does not have to worry about their children dying in a war-torn country and having to flee for him and his family's safety to another country. This is demonstrating an extreme wealth of privilege on a number of levels.
To work.
We are here because we believe that climate change is an important issue that impacts all of us, and we want to highlight the important intersection that holds with immigration.
Which is why we will continue to show up until our university, our government, and our country understand that.
Climate change. Climate change has no borders. Okay? It's open borders, climate change.
Aren't you an Antifa?
Not to talk to him.
You were at the Antifa table the other day, right?
But yeah, just best not to talk to him.
That's a yes.
You think climate change affects immigration?
Climate change will be the
Keep an eye on this guy. He's important later.
world's most awful leveler. It will force 100 million people out of Bangladesh. It'll force 5 million people out of South Florida. It'll force millions of people out from everywhere.
Yeah, climate.
Okay, so what that guy said just then, this guy over here, what he's saying is true. I don't know who this guy is. I'm assuming he's probably maybe like a teacher or a counselor or someone that works for this college. But anyway, he seems like he's fairly well informed, so I'm assuming he's a teacher of some kind. But yeah, what he's saying about climate refugees is true. Got this article from the Brookings Institute talking about a World Bank study. It says that in 2018, the World Bank estimated that 3 regions, Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southeast Asia, will generate 143 million more climate migrants by 2050. That is a lot of people. A lot of people are at risk of being displaced by rising temperatures. There are major swaths of the Middle East that are currently populated by millions of people that scientists are estimating could become uninhabitable within 1 or 2 generations. There are low-lying, below sea level or at sea level islands and island nations that are at extreme risk for people being displaced from these regions by rising sea levels. And all of the estimates I could find by reputable sources says something in the tens of millions, or what this article is saying about 143 million by 2050. This is going to be the climate crisis, the migrations of people caused by climate change is going to make the Syrian refugee crisis look small in comparison. This is one of the most, if not the most, pressing social issues we have right now on the planet is climate change. And this guy is not at all being an alarmist for highlighting this fact. We can see from changing the more extreme weather patterns and the fact that people in certain island nations are already fleeing their homes to escape rising sea levels, that this is not just alarmism. This is happening right now, and it's going to get worse. Yes, right here. To date, there are only a few cases where climate change is the sole factor prompting migration. The clearest examples are in the Pacific Islands. The sea level is rising at a rate of 12 millimeters per year in the western Pacific and has already submerged 8 islands. 2 more are on the brink of disappearing, prompting a wave of migration to larger countries. And by 2100, it is estimated that 48 islands overall will be lost to the rising ocean. So this is going on right now, and it's going to get worse. This is not disputed science.
Out from everywhere.
Yeah, climate migration is definitely a thing. Doesn't matter so much whether it's legal it does matter if it's legal or illegal. It's just more so that people are literally losing their homes, whether it's rising sea level or climate change or natural disasters, just making where they currently live not a thing anymore.
Where do you see the rising sea levels and natural disasters destroying homes?
All over the world, realistically.
In the 70s, they thought it was going to be
in the Pacific Islands that I just mentioned, along with other places.
Ice Age. They thought it was going to be the opposite. Like Al Gore said that polar bears would be dead by this point now. Now they're more
are seriously
There are more polar bears now than there were when.
Okay, so that point, the point he made with the woman just now, talking about how scientists predicted a global cooling back in the 70s. Let's check that out. Let's see if that's legit. Oh, look at that! It's not. Oh, how weird. So, according to this article in Skeptical Science, there was a cooling trend in the 1970s, and to be fair and to be clear, there were some scientists that predicted that cooling trend would continue into the future. But according to an analysis of 68 scientific studies on global cooling literature from 1965 to 1979, 10% of those articles predicted that the cooling trend would continue. 28% predicted that, or said that they had no stance one way or the other on what the trends were going to predict, and 62% predicted warming. So only 10% of scientists from these studies back between the 60s and 70s predicted that cooling was going to continue to be the trend. And even back then, the scientific consensus on this is much more firm and well-grounded and more well-researched now. Like the consensus that man-made climate change is a thing and the world is getting warmer is damn near is the overwhelming consensus. It is by far the overwhelming consensus. But even back in the 60s and 70s, when we knew a lot less about climate change, 62% predicted that the climate would warm. Only 10% said they thought it would cool. So PragerU here being super misleading with its information. Oh yeah, and that shit he said about Al Gore and the polar bears. Doesn't matter. Al Gore is not. Al Gore's irrelevant. I don't think he even has any like. Does Al Gore have a scientific background? I don't even know. But who gives a fuck what Al Gore said? Al Gore has said some silly shit. What matters is the scientific consensus. That's what matters, not what one person like Al Gore has to say on the subject.
When Al Gore said that.
No.
Yes.
No. But go ahead, you can argue. So your science says what? That this isn't happening? This is not of a worry?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Your answer.
Well, I'm more of the sense that the free market is more in tune to help.
Really enough.
Like the flash drive, right? This was like eco-capitalism that saved millions of trees because you have a flash drive that you can put files on. It's like a wonderful thing, right?
And to me, it's sad.
Okay, so that part, I wanted to go off on a little tangent on that part. So, get my face out of the way. So this guy, again, assuming he's a teacher, not 100% sure, but this guy was good. He actually challenged Mr. PragerU frat bro over here on some of his really dumb talking points. And then Mr. PragerU boy made a point about environmental capitalism, where he talked about flash drives and how the free market can come to solutions to the issues of climate change, which on the surface of it isn't a horrible point. There's some credence that can be drawn out from that. So after he says that, you might be interested to hear what this guy's rebuttal is, but we don't get a rebuttal. We don't get to hear how this guy, who seems to be fairly knowledgeable on these subjects, gets to respond to his ideas about free market capitalism fixing climate change. And this shows the dishonesty that comes in a lot of these man on the street videos, as they're commonly known. You get a guy, conservatives love to do man on the street videos because most of the time what happens is you got a guy with a microphone, he sticks it in the faces of college students or sometimes random people on the streets, people that are completely unprepared to have dialogues about politics, and for the most part are not particularly well informed about politics because you're just getting, average Joes on the street or, random teenagers who aren't well informed on these issues. And conservatives love to do this because most people in the United States tend to lean politically left, but also a lot of people in the United States are not terribly well informed when it comes to politics and social issues and things like climate change. So it makes it really easy for reactionaries and conservatives to paint liberals and people on the left as being as being uninformed and silly people. And then, but then you get the rare occasion where they will actually talk to someone like this fella over here, who's actually kind of well informed on the issues that are being discussed, and he gets almost no time in the video to make his piece. Everything about these types of videos are deceptive and misleading. Everything from the editing to the loaded questions being asked to cutting away from people who might actually have good answers to these questions. Everything about this kind of content is incredibly deceptive, and that's why people on the right love to do these videos.
Drive that you can put files on. It's like a wonderful thing, right?
And to me, it's sad that something like climate change has been politicized and it's turned into what it is. But
because I'm a more conservative person, it's like people think that I just hate the environment because I'm a conservative, and it's like that's not the case at all.
It's sad that.
Yeah, they know what it is.
Yeah. It's sad that it's like.
Gotta defend them.
I mean, our climate and our system is always changing. That's just how the planet functions, you know, whether it was the age of the dinosaurs or the ice age. I mean, that's just biologically how our planet functions as a whole. And so it's normal that it goes through changes and things like that.
Yeah, they slowed that part of the video down because they thought it mattered, but it doesn't. The climate might change naturally, yes, but it is an unprecedented levels of greenhouse gas emissions that are being putting into the atmosphere. Never before in known history have the greenhouse, or not known history, but the levels of greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere are unprecedented as far as existence of human beings on this planet, and it is warming the climate, and that is because of our burning of fossil fuels and whatnot. So it's an irrelevant point.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's fun.
Alright, so this video veered into climate change at the end, and it was supposed to be about ICE and immigration, but we got to debunk a whole bunch of things this time around. It's good stuff. Thank you, PragerU. And and this video is still longer than what I wanted it to be, and I'm still talking. Okay, yes, everyone, thank you for watching. Anyone who watches this video, let me know what I should talk about in the future. Da ba da ba da. You guys are awesome. Okay, thanks, bye.